Grandpa, I'm hungry. He locked me in my room, and Mom won't wake up. My 6-year-old grandson whispered from an unknown number before the call cut off. I hadn't seen him in 6 months. I forced my way into the house. What I found inside changed everything. The phone rang at 9:34 p.m. on a Tuesday. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Spam calls, robocalls, scammers. I'd gotten 3 that day already, but something made me pick up. Hello? Silence. Then breathing. Small, scared breathing. Grandpa? My heart stopped. Ethan? Grandpa, I'm hungry. His voice was barely a whisper, shaking. He locked me in my room again, and Mom won't wake up. I tried to wake her up, but she won't. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I hit redial, straight to voicemail. Generic automated message. I tried again. Voicemail. My grandson was 7 years old, and I hadn't seen him in 6 months. Rebecca was my only daughter, 32 years old, beautiful, smart, divorced from Ethan's biological father when Ethan was 3. The guy was a deadbeat who'd disappeared to Nevada and never paid child support. She'd met Brad Morrison at a hospital fundraiser where she worked as an events coordinator. Brad was an investment banker, 41, handsome in that polished, calculated way. Perfect smile, designer suits, Armani, Rolex. The kind of guy who looked like he'd stepped out of a Wall Street recruiting poster. Dead eyes, though. I'd noticed that at their first dinner together when Rebecca introduced us. Eyes that didn't match his smile. Cold, assessing. Dad, this is Brad. Brad, my father Tom. We shook hands. His grip was too firm, too long. Great to meet you, sir. Rebecca talks about you constantly. Lie. She'd told me he barely asked about her family. They got married 4 months later. Small ceremony, 50 guests. Rebecca wore a simple white dress. Ethan was the ring bearer, grinning in his little suit. At the reception, I'd pulled Rebecca aside. Are you sure about this? Dad, I'm happy. Brad's amazing. He's successful, stable. Everything Jake wasn't. He's controlling Becca. Her face hardened. What? I've watched him all night. He monitors every conversation you have, guides you away from people, checks his watch when you're talking to your college friends. He's just attentive. That's not attentive. That's controlling. Dad, stop. You're being paranoid. I'm being careful. For you. For Ethan. Brad loves Ethan. He's been so good to him. Has he? Ethan flinches when Brad raises his voice. I saw it twice today. He's adjusting. It's normal. Becca, Dad, either be happy for me or leave. Brad appeared behind her. Everything okay, babe? We're fine, Rebecca said, not looking at me. Dad was just leaving. I wasn't invited to their house after that. Phone calls became shorter, more distant. Rebecca stopped answering when I asked how Ethan was doing. He's fine, Dad. Brad's teaching him discipline, structure, things he needs. 3 months after the wedding, Rebecca stopped returning my calls entirely. I'd drive by their house sometimes, just to see if Ethan was outside playing. He never was. I grabbed my keys. My hands were still shaking. Mom won't wake up. I lived 43 minutes from Rebecca's house. Gated community in Rosewood Heights. Modern 2-story. Black shutters. Manicured lawn. At 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, I made it in 29 minutes. The driveway was empty. No BMW. No Mercedes. Every window was dark. I pulled up to the curb, ran to the front door and pounded with my fist. Rebecca! Ethan! Nothing. I rang the doorbell. 6 times. 7. Nothing. I walked around to the back. Motion lights flickered on. The kitchen window was cracked open. Maybe 2 inches. I pushed it. Slid up another 6 inches. Then stuck. I pushed harder. The screen popped off, clattered to the ground. The window opened. I climbed through. Knocked over something. A plant. Water spreading across the counter. Landed hard on the kitchen floor. The smell hit me immediately. Rotten food. Garbage that hadn't been taken out. Something else underneath. Sweet. Chemical. Ethan! I called. Silence. Rebecca? Then faintly, from upstairs. Grandpa? I ran. Through the kitchen, past the living room where toys lay scattered. Up the stairs 2 at a time. Ethan's bedroom was at the end of the hall. The door had a padlock on the outside. A fucking padlock on a 7-year-old's bedroom door. Ethan, buddy, stand back from the door. Okay. I kicked. Once. The door shuddered but held. Kicked again. The frame cracked. 3rd kick. The wood splintered. The lock tore free. The door swung open. Ethan stood in the corner of his room, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. He was thin. Too thin. His SpongeBob pajamas, the ones I'd bought him for Christmas 8 months ago, hung off his frame. His face was pale. Circles under his eyes. Hair greasy and unwashed. Grandpa? He ran to me. I caught him. Lifted him. He weighed almost nothing. When did you last eat, buddy? Yesterday, I think. He said I was being bad. He took my dinner. My vision went red. Where's your mom? Her bedroom. She won't wake up. I tried. I shook her and everything, but she just... His voice cracked. I carried him down the hall. Rebecca's bedroom door was open. She lay in bed, on her back, still, too still. Empty pill bottles on the nightstand, 3 of them. Xanax, Ambien, something else I couldn't read in the dark. A vodka bottle on its side on the floor. Empty. I set Ethan down. Stay in the hallway, okay? I checked Rebecca's pulse. Faint. Barely there. Her skin was cold. Ethan, I need you to call 911. Can you do that? He nodded. Pulled a phone from from his pajama pocket. Not his phone, not a kid's phone. An iPhone, expensive, in a black case. Where'd you get that? I found it. In his office. He doesn't know. Smart kid. Ethan dialed. His hands were steadier than mine. 911, what's your emergency? My mom won't wake up, Ethan said, voice small. My grandpa says we need help. I took the phone, gave the dispatcher the address, told her possible overdose, unconscious female, breathing but unresponsive. Ambulance is 7 minutes out, she said. Stay on the line. I stayed, checked Rebecca's breathing again. Shallow, labored, but there. Ethan stood in the doorway, clutching his dinosaur, watching. Is mommy going to die? No, buddy. The ambulance is coming. They're going to help her. The paramedics arrived in 6 minutes. 2 of them. Young guy, maybe 25. Older woman, probably 45, with gray streaks in her ponytail. Daniel Cooper, paramedic, 8 years with Sacramento Fire, the guy said. This is Lynn Ramirez, 15 years. What happened? I explained. The call. Finding Ethan locked in his room. Finding Rebecca unresponsive. Lynn checked Rebecca's vitals. Pulse is 42. Respirations shallow. Probable overdose. We need to transport now. They loaded Rebecca onto a gurney. Started an IV. Oxygen mask over her face. Ethan watched, silent, gripping my hand. A police officer arrived as they were carrying Rebecca down the stairs. Young, maybe late 20s. Name tag, Officer Jason Park, Sacramento PD. Sir, I'm going to need to ask some questions. I told him everything. The call from Ethan, the locked door, the padlock, the state of the house. Park's expression hardened. Where's the child's stepfather? Brad Morrison. Business trip, supposedly. That's what my daughter told me last week. Park walked upstairs, took photos of the broken door, the padlock, Ethan's room. He came back down. Your grandson needs to stay with someone tonight. We're opening an investigation. Child Protective Services will contact you within 24 hours. He's staying with me. That's fine. I'll need your contact information. Park wrote everything in a small notebook. One more thing, Park said. Does your grandson have any injuries? Bruises? I looked at Ethan. Buddy, can you show Officer Park your arms? Ethan held out his thin arms. Bruises. Finger-shaped bruises on both biceps. Yellowing, maybe 4 or 5 days old. Park photographed them. Anywhere else? Ethan pulled up his shirt. More bruises on his ribs, his back. Park's jaw tightened. He photographed everything. We're going to need a full medical exam, he said quietly to me. Tonight, at the hospital. St. Luke's emergency room, 11:47 p.m. Rebecca was in surgery, stomach pumping. They'd told me she'd taken enough benzodiazepines and alcohol to stop her heart. Another hour, and she would have been dead. Ethan sat beside me in the waiting room, eating a turkey sandwich a nurse had brought him. He ate slowly, carefully, like someone who'd learned not to waste food. Ethan, when did this start? The locked door? He swallowed. 2 months ago. He said I needed to learn discipline. Did he hit you? Ethan nodded. Small, tight nod. When I was bad. When I talked too much or made noise or his voice got smaller. Or when he was mad at mommy and I tried to help her. My hands clenched. Did your mom know? About the locked door? She cried the first time, asked him to stop. He said she was too soft. That I needed a man to teach me respect. What else, buddy? Tell me everything. Sometimes he wouldn't let me eat dinner. Said I was getting fat and wasting his money. Mommy would sneak me food later, but Ethan's eyes filled with tears. But then he found out and he got really mad. I pulled Ethan close. He buried his face in my shoulder and cried. A doctor appeared. Older woman, 50s, with gray hair pulled back. Dr. Patricia Nguyen, according to her badge. Pediatrics, 28 years. You're Ethan's grandfather? Yes. I need to examine him. It'll take about 30 minutes. I stayed. Dr. Nguyen was gentle, thorough. She checked every bruise, measured his weight. 71 pounds, she wrote down. He should be closer to 82 pounds for his age and height. He's lost significant weight. She checked his arms, his legs, his back. These bruises are consistent with grabbing, restraining, adult hand patterns. She photographed everything. I'm required to report this to Child Protective Services. Please do. My phone rang at 12:53 a.m. Unknown number. I answered. This is Brad Morrison. What the hell is going on? I've got 6 missed calls from the police. Your wife tried to kill herself. Your stepson was locked in his room, starving. That's Rebecca's being dramatic. She does this for attention. She's in ICU. They pumped her stomach. She nearly died. Silence. And Ethan was locked in his room with a padlock. Bruises on his arms. No food. I don't know what you're talking about. There are photographs, Brad. Police documentation. Medical records. Ethan told them everything. That kid is a liar. He called me from your phone. The one you left in your office. More silence. The police want to talk to you. I'd get a lawyer. You can't. I hung up. Brad showed up at the hospital at 8:14 a.m. Armani suit. Rolex. Hair perfectly styled. He tried to go to Rebecca's room. A nurse stopped him. I'm sorry, sir. Mrs. Morrison has requested no visitors except her father. I'm her husband. I understand, but get out of my way. Security arrived. 2 guards. Sir, you need to leave. Brad pulled out his phone. Do you know who I am? I'll have all of you fired. Sir, you need to leave now or we'll call the police. Brad saw me then, standing near the nurse's station with Ethan. He walked toward us. Move, he said. No, that's my son, stepson. And Officer Park issued a temporary restraining order last night. You're not allowed within 500 feet of Ethan or Rebecca. That's bullshit. The security guards moved in. Sir, final warning. They escorted Brad toward the exit. He was yelling the entire way. Ethan pressed against my side. Is he going to take me back? No, buddy, never. 2 days later, Rebecca woke up. I was sitting beside her bed when her eyes opened. She looked around, confused, saw the IV lines, the monitors. Then she saw me. Dad, hey sweetheart. Tears spilled down her her face. Where's Ethan? With me. Safe. Is he okay? He's going to be. She closed her eyes. I'm so sorry. Tell me what happened, Becca. I couldn't take it anymore. Her voice was broken. Brad changed after we got married. He was controlling, angry. He said Ethan needed discipline. Real discipline. He locked Ethan in his room. She nodded. I tried to stop him. He said I was being hysterical, that I didn't know how to raise a boy. Did he hit Ethan? Yes. The word came out like a sob. I tried to protect him. I tried to leave. Brad said if I took Ethan, he'd fight for custody. He'd tell the court I was unstable. He'd make sure I never saw him again. So you stayed. I tried to protect Ethan, but Brad just got worse. He'd lock him in his room for hours. He'd withhold food. You started drinking. I couldn't see a way out, so I wanted it to stop. A nurse entered. Emily Ross, RN, according to her badge. While the nurse worked, two people appeared in the doorway. Detective Maria Santos, late 40s, Latina, sharp eyes. 17 years with Sacramento PD, Family Crimes Unit. Detective Kevin Walsh, older, maybe 55, graying hair, 22 years. Mrs. Morrison, we need to ask you some questions, Santos said. Rebecca nodded. They recorded everything. The locked door, the withheld meals, the bruises, the threats, Brad's control over their finances, how he'd isolated her from friends and family. Walsh took notes, page after page. We arrested Brad Morrison this morning, Santos said when Rebecca finished. He's being charged with child endangerment, child abuse, unlawful imprisonment, and domestic violence. Rebecca's eyes went wide. What? Your son's medical records, the photographs, his testimony, your testimony. It's more than enough. What happens now? Preliminary hearing, then trial. You'll need to testify. I will, Rebecca said. Whatever it takes. 3 weeks later, the trial began. Brad's lawyer tried to make a deal. Plea bargain. Reduced charges. The prosecutor, James Hartley, deputy DA, 19 years, refused. We have documented evidence of systematic child abuse. We're going to trial. The trial lasted 4 days. The courthouse was packed. Reporters, Brad's colleagues, Rebecca's friends. Brad sat at the defense table in a charcoal suit, stone-faced. Day 1. Medical testimony. Dr. Nguyen described Ethan's condition, the bruises, the weight loss. In my 28 years as a pediatrician, I've seen hundreds of abuse cases. This is among the most calculated. Day 2. Police testimony. Officer Park described the scene, the locked door, the padlock. Detective Santos presented photographs, videos, documentation. Day 3. Rebecca's testimony. She described the marriage, the escalating control, the abuse, the threats. Brad's lawyer tried to paint her as unstable, unreliable. Prosecutor Hartley presented her medical records, showed that before Brad, she'd had no history of substance abuse. She was driven to a suicide attempt by systematic psychological torture, Hartley said. Day 4. Ethan's testimony. 7 years old, small, scared, but brave. He sat in the witness box, feet not touching the floor. Hartley asked gentle questions. Ethan described the locked room, the hunger, the fear. He said if I told anyone, he'd send me away. The jury listened. Several looked like they wanted to cry. The jury deliberated for 97 minutes, guilty on all counts. Brad's face went white. Sentencing was immediate. Judge Amanda Reyes, 26 years on the bench, looked at Brad with undisguised contempt. Mr. Morrison, you present yourself as a successful businessman, a man of standing. She paused. But you're nothing more than a child abuser who locked a 7-year-old in a room and left him to starve. Brad opened his mouth. Judge Reyes raised a hand. I've reviewed the evidence. What you did to that child is monstrous. She looked down at her notes. I'm sentencing you to 12 years in state prison. No possibility of parole for the first 8 years. Brad's colleagues in the gallery shifted, whispered. Judge Reyes leaned forward. Your firm called this morning. Morrison and Whitfield has terminated your employment. They've also initiated an internal investigation. Brad's face went gray. Your assets are frozen pending civil litigation. The preliminary estimate is $4.2 million in damages. She slammed the gavel. Bailiff, remove the defendant. 2 officers moved in, put Brad in handcuffs. As they led him past our row, I stood up, leaned close enough that only he could hear. Ethan called me from your personal cell phone, I whispered. The one you thought you'd hidden. The police found 23 text messages to your executive assistant. Brad's eyes went wide. They also found the wire transfers, $470,000 to the Cayman Islands. Embezzlement adds another 5 years. The officers pulled him away. He looked back once, face full of rage, helplessness. Then he was gone. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Cameras, microphones. I held Ethan's hand. Rebecca stood beside us. Mr. Wilson, how does it feel to see justice served? A reporter called. I looked at Ethan, at Rebecca, at my family, safe and whole. It feels like we can finally breathe, I said. We walked to the car. Ethan looked up at me. Is he really gone, Grandpa? Yeah, buddy, he's really gone. Good. I squeezed his hand. We drove home.